J.J. Watt, this is fun. This is why Twitter can be fun. I'm going to talk a little bit later about why Twitter is often not fun because of the way that stories spread. But early on Monday, I don't know, probably 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning on Monday, a story came out that J.J. Watt had narrowed his teams down to 3 different potential destinations, and that he had posted it on his Peloton. And that he had said Super Bowl 56, either going to be with the Bills, with the Green Bay Packers, or with the Cleveland Browns. And the odds markets, everybody rushed to place money on them, to place bets on those 3 teams. And then J.J. Watt came out and said, hey, guys, I don't even have a Peloton. So the Peloton bikes obviously have also been incredibly popular during the pandemic. By the way, do you remember when that video that Peloton did of the husband who got the Peloton bike for his wife went viral? And people were like, oh, my God, what an awful ad. Why in the world would a husband get a Peloton bike for his wife because she's worried about her health? And I thought that was funny, being able to stay in shape, because my Christmas gift to my wife that year was a Peloton bike, because we got 3 young kids and sometimes you can't get to the gym. And so if you have the ability to hop on a Peloton bike, it can allow you to stay in shape and you're not as stressed about trying to keep up. Every husband who went and got his wife a Peloton bike before COVID looked like a freaking genius, because as soon as COVID happened, it became impossible to get a Peloton bike. There are people out there that have been waiting for months. So if you were a husband and you went and got your wife a Peloton bike, and she has been using it for the past year with a lot of gyms closed and the kids are maybe at home and you can't get them out and your wife's stressed, maybe a good time to bring up what a great husband you are. I did this recently. My wife didn't agree, but I was like, hey, you know what? Kind of a genius move by me to get you that Peloton bike for Christmas right before COVID happened. And remember how everybody was mad at that dude in that advertisement? Like, oh, what a jerk. Why would you? I mean, because Twitter blue checkmark people are losers in general, and they look for reasons to be offended all day. But the Peloton ended up being a great move. Not for J.J. Watt, evidently, who says he doesn't have a Peloton. But he's going to Arizona. 2-year, $31 million deal. I think it could make sense, but here's the challenge. J.J. Watt has only completed 2 of his last 5 seasons. He has missed a massive number of games in the last 5 years. I think 31, if I'm doing live math correctly. 12, 11, and 8, I think is the number, if I might be a little bit off. But a massive number of the available games in the last 5 years. What Arizona is effectively gambling on right now is that he's going to be healthy. If he's not healthy, this is a bust of a contract, particularly in a year where the salary cap's going to be set around $180 million. So you're tying up a decent amount of money, I think $21 million guaranteed over the next 2 years. If J.J. Watt, however, is healthy, it could be a genius move. Why do I say that? Because arguably the NFC West right now has the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Just follow along with me. Russell Wilson in Seattle. Let's presume that he's going to stay in Seattle, although I know there's uncertainty about that. It's a messy situation. May talk about Seattle, I'm sure, this week, maybe even in this show. I know we'll talk about it with John McClain and with Paul Kaharski, our NFL insiders we're going to talk with. So maybe Russell Wilson's going to be in Seattle. I happen to think he's going to be there. We know that already the Rams have made a huge investment with Matthew Stafford. And Jimmy G theoretically is going to come back healthy. Plus Kyler Murray. Argument that I feel pretty confident about. That's the best division for quarterbacks in the NFL. In fact, I don't even know that it's close. The only other division that you could maybe argue about, I think right now, is the AFC South, and that's only if Deshaun Watson's staying in Houston. Because I think Carson Wentz is going to be pretty good in Indianapolis, and Ryan Tannehill's been okay in Nashville. And then the presumption is Trevor Lawrence, who everybody seems to think is going to be pretty good, is coming to Jacksonville. That's a pretty good quad. If you think about the overall talent at the quarterback position, most divisions out there have a couple of teams that are just totally lost. For instance, right now, the AFC West, really good with Patrick Mahomes. A lot of reason for optimism with Justin Herbert. But I'm sorry, Denver Bronco fans. We have no idea what you guys are doing right now. No one does. And so you start to look across all of the landscape of the available teams, and there's almost always somebody out there or a couple of teams that are just not up to snuff. They're kind of falling apart. So the case that you can make for J.J. Watt is that in conjunction with a relatively talented defensive line with the Cardinals, that they are going to be able to take the next level and put a ton of pressure on everybody out there in that division, because you know that you have to get after Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, and Jimmy G. Those are three pretty good. I know that Russell Wilson can run around some. Pretty good pocket passers. J.J. Watt doesn't have to worry about chasing around his own Kyler Murray. Those guys are pretty much going to be in the pocket where they drop back to pass. And if J.J. Watt can be healthy, I think that that could be a tremendous opportunity for him going forward to really put some pressure on quarterback. Now, I'm not sold on the Arizona Cardinals as the best team in the NFC West, and I wouldn't be investing in them in the wake of J.J. Watt either. But I did see that their numbers dropped a little bit kind of across the board. And as a result, I think still the best team is the Rams. But if you got Defensive Player of the Year caliber J.J. Watt, if you got the performance from J.J. Watt like we got out of Tom Brady, then maybe the Arizona Cardinals could make a big step. And you still have a pretty young team. I also think that Cliff Kingsbury has to be thinking, hey, this is the kind of guy we need in our locker room who can help the overall culture and help us take the proverbial next step. Because year one, you got a brand new quarterback in Kyler Murray. Year two, you put your team in a position to contend for a playoff berth. Year three, you want to be in the playoffs. How do you do that? Ideally, with good leadership. And so I think that is likely where we are headed with the storyline as it pertains to J.J. Watt. So I like the move, but only if J.J. Watt can be healthy. And some people say, well, how do you know whether or not somebody's going to be healthy? You don't. It's a risk. It's going to look like a great move if he stays healthy, because he'll have double-digit sacks. I really think he will on this Arizona Cardinal defense, chasing quarterbacks who are mostly stationary in the pocket. But if he gets hurt, it's going to look like a tremendous bust, and he's been hurt 2 of the last 5 years. So to me, this is a 50-50 toss of the coin. It's going to look brilliant, or it's going to look incredibly awful if J.J. Watt isn't able to stay healthy. But how about DeAndre Hopkins, J.J. Watt being reunited? All of a sudden, Arizona is where Houstonians who have been disrespected by the football franchise go to find their freedom.